Hey everyone, just giving a couple seconds here for everyone to roll in. So I know no one starts exactly on time. All right. Well, cool. Hey, thanks to everyone for joining us for this Syncro and CloudRadial webinar, Better Together. I am Ricky Cecchini, the Director of Product Services here at CloudRadial, which is an account management services platform and a client portal. So we'll be diving into a lot of the functions that we work with Syncro, but I think actually I'll turn it over first to Crystal, who will introduce herself and give a little bit about how Syncro works first.
Yeah, hey everyone, I'm Crystal Henkle. Thank you so much, Ricky, for having me today. I'm the sales manager at Syncro MSP. So for those of you that don't know, Syncro is a combined RMM and PSA platform. So really everything you need under one hood to run your MSP business. I'm really excited about this integration, happy to talk about it. I'm excited to see Ricky show kind of the integration to its fullest and kind of just represent that value there for you all. So yeah, really at any point, I think I'd love to, give a few minutes of my time to show kind of for those of you that have never seen Syncro, I'd love to show it. But was there anything else, Ricky, you kind of wanted to talk through first, or should I take it on over?
We'll just go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and show a little bit of Syncro, because what I'd like to focus on from my side is I'd like to show you guys obviously a little bit of the platform, but once Crystal kind of gives a good framing of it, we'll kind of go into CloudRadial and I'll kind of give a little bit of a live demo of how Syncro kind of sets the stage for more of like the backend powerhouse PSA RMM and how CloudRadial kind of rounds out the client-facing side of that. So I think it's a good start for you to kick it off. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and then we have a shadow person behind the scenes, Safi, who I think is going to be passing off control here in a second.
Yes, that would be great. And I will wait till I can share my screen. Not seeing the, oh, there we go. All right, so I'm gonna show and make sure, okay. Is everyone seeing my Syncro instance now?
Backup dashboard, we got you.
Okay, perfect. I just so happened to land on this screen, maybe on purpose, but I mentioned that, Syncro is a combined RMM and PSA platform. We just launched backups as well. So we have fully integrated built-in backups also. But what I'd like to just start out, again, I want to do this kind of high level, maybe try to get this in 10 minutes. But I do like to mention that we do have a full 30-day free trial. We offer free demos, of course, so you get an expert to walk you through the platform. So what you see today will be a very abbreviated version. It's worth just saying that. But I'm just gonna hop into a customer here and be able to just show you a little bit about the platform. So from here, you can see you have just a ton of customer information. So Syncro is absolutely a customer management tool. You have the ability to set whatever custom fields you would like. They can also be encrypted. So we do have a password vault built right in. You can store passwords and that sort of thing. These are completely customizable. So whatever you would want to store on a customer level, you can do that. It's all in one place. So you can also manage your contacts as well. So they can have their additional custom fields here. So again, everything all under one hood. Now, where the power really is with Syncro is, as you can see, I mean, you can set appointments, you can create tickets, and I'm excited, Ricky's gonna show you how this is feeding from Syncro to CloudRadial. But you've got your tickets right here, you've got estimates, invoices, contracts, but here's the power. So you have assets, all of your managed assets right here in the customer screen. So with a click of a button, this little magnifying glass offers a quick view modal. So not only can you launch into a remote session straight from here, you could run a script, you can even chat with your end users and create a new ticket. So really quickly, I'm just going to create a new ticket. I think Ricky's going to show you other ways to do that as well. But for now, I'm just going to show you really quickly. I'm going to create, a ticket just super fast and go here and then create the ticket here. So it's worth just showing that that was really quick to manually create a ticket, but within Syncro, there's so many different ways that you can create a ticket. So whether it's your end user sending in an email, going through the CloudRadial portal, using their system tray icon, it's all right here available to create tickets just as easy as you'd like it to be. You can log time in a ticket from here. There's several different ways that you can log time. Again, you have your asset attached to the ticket, and this quick view modal stays intact from here. So you can be working in a ticket, launch into a remote control session, start a chat. So if you're working on a ticket and all of a sudden you realize you don't have all of the information you need, you can quickly chat with your customer. So you're saving yourself just a ton of time. I'm sure all of you have experienced where someone opens a ticket, you have no idea what the actual issue is. But from the ticket here, not only can you see their screen, you can chat with them without having to get on the phone, without having to email back and forth. So it's just going to end up saving you just a ton of time. So that's really, you know, one of the great superpowers of having a combined software. So as you're adding time and labor and different parts, materials, we have a fully integrated products and services. So you have all of the ability to add, like if you sell a desktop or a laptop, you can have a full inventory system set up within Syncro as well. Now, you can see you can one-click create an invoice from a ticket. So if you do have one-off scenarios, it's as easy as a click of a button to create a ticket or create an invoice from a ticket. So it'll carry over any charges from that ticket. You can email that to your customer straight from there. We do have payment processor integrations, all of that good stuff, 100% built in. Now, the other thing that I want to just quickly mention when it comes to invoicing, because integrated billing is huge when it comes to a PSA, especially when you don't have to pay extra for any sort of third-party tools to integrate payment processing. So it doesn't require any third-party tools to do that. We also integrate very seamlessly with QuickBooks Desktop and Online, as well as Xero. So you can be setting up your reoccurring invoices here. And as you can see, you can, I'm just going to hop into, maybe I'll do this one. I created this reoccurring invoice the other day. So you can pretty much call it whatever you want, choose how often you want to be billing, whether you're billing in arrears or in advance, choose when you want it to run. Depending on your billing model, we support so many different options. So of course, you do have the ability to like add any pending ticket charges. So if you charge time and material throughout the month, but you only want to send one email at the end with an invoice, you can do that. It'll automatically append any pending ticket charges right to this reoccurring invoice. In addition to that, we do support like if you did per contact billing. So every employee, you're charging a certain amount. We do per endpoint billing. You can bill flat rates. You can do block hours. You can, as you can see, reoccurring line item types. We have multiple dynamic counters. So again, having your RMM built in, it's billing based upon what the RMM is reading off of the endpoint. So it's absolutely incredible. We also have the ability to, with a couple clicks of a button, you're billing reoccurring for Syncro backups, which again, huge feature add, huge time saver at the end of the month. So if you think about how much you're charging people for your time and how much time you're putting in to creating these invoices manually sometimes, this here is incredible. Now, I'm going to just shift gears really quickly. And again, I'm speeding through this stuff. So if you have any questions, I will kind of save some time right after this, as well as towards the end of the webinar, if anyone has any questions for me. But if I head over to the assets and RMM screen here, it's worth just showing that, again, everything is right here in one platform. You're not having to log out, log into somewhere else. It's all right here and all connected. So you have all of your assets here. That quick view modal stays intact from here. You can launch right into a Syncro live session. So you have remote control at your fingertips built in, no additional charge. You have all of these backgrounding tools as well. So just super quick, it's going to take you to the task manager by default. With the ability to stop processes. You've got a service manager included, so you can start, stop, restart things from here. You've got your event viewer. Of course, you've got a system information, file system. You can upload, download, transfer files from here. The registry editor is incredible. So in comparison to like the Windows registry editor, just a quick example, when you search something, it's going to return all of the things, not like one at a time. So it's really, again, a time saver. You've got a remote desktop connection. I mentioned, we do have chat and you can create tickets from here. So that system tray icon is completely customizable. So depending on what you want them to do, you can customize this on a policy level. So that's Syncro Live. You can also do things in the background, whether it's command line or PowerShell, you can be running things in the background from here. All right, so let's talk about assets and RMM just super quick here. Again, highlighting the power of the combined RMM. If you hop over and you're just like, hey, I want to look at all the alerts that I have going on, it is like one-click access to whether you want to create a ticket from here, look at the ticket that's already created. You can go to the asset and just check out what's going on. Again, having that built-in Syncro Live is incredible. But you have all of your asset information and history and recent activity and all of that good stuff. And then I think, the last thing that I'll just show is like I mentioned, we have backups built right in. So you can be backing up your endpoints. We have cloud storage. So you can select what you're including, excluding. You've got the ability to customize schedules. And then as you can see, we have a fully built-in backups dashboard. So you can see what you're billing, what you're being charged, all of that good stuff. So I think I'll probably pause there. Again, super high level, and I can't obviously show you all of the amazing things in a short amount of time, but I'm happy, Safi, if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer those now. Otherwise, we can kind of roll into what.
I've got a question from AJ Val, which says, can I give access to a client IT department to the client's computers only?
Yes, you can. We have, so in our admin section, we have different security levels essentially. So you can create a security group. You can add like an internal ID department, and it's called like a per user permission. So you can assign a specific customer to that technician. All they can see is that specific customer. And then in addition to that, you can even customize what they have access to and what they do not. So we get pretty granular in those security setting groups there too. I think it's worth also, if you don't mind, what I can do is just really quickly, it's worth just showing pricing too. This is kind of like breaking the model of your traditional RMM and PSA, because we're not a traditional RMM and PSA. We are a combined platform. So we have the ability to charge per technician, and it's unlimited endpoints. So for example, if you have 3 people in your organization and you have 300 endpoints, you're going to pay per technician, so $300. If you have those same 3 technicians and you grow your business and all of a sudden you have 700 endpoints, you're still paying $300 a month. So you're always knowing what you're paying per month. It's clear, it's transparent. So worth highlighting that as well.
There was another big question about the licensing. When we were using the example of the client IT department to the client's computers, do you require a paid tech license for that customer?
Yes, yeah, for the single customer permissions, yes, it would be an additional tech license. Usually that cost is passed on to your customer. In addition to that, depending on what they need access to, you can give them access to their portal, and I'm interested to see how that might work with CloudRadial too. But they can see a customer portal, they can view tickets and that sort of thing as well, without creating them as an actual technician. We also have integrations with, Splashtop, Screen Connect, TeamViewer, which, all of those you can give basically remote control to the end users as well. So that might be an option, just depending on, if exactly what you're looking to do there.
Okay, can you talk briefly about EDR integrations and how they appear in the Syncro interface?
Yeah, so essentially what we have available today is we have a Bitdefender integration that has EDR as an add-on. So Bitdefender is tiered pricing. It starts at $1.30 per endpoint for a full gravity zone package, which is really incredible. And then you have the options for a ton of different add-ons, and EDR is included in that.
Okay, I think that answers everything.
Awesome. Okay, should I stop sharing and hand it back?
I think I will switch over to Ricky, and just to let y'all know that takes a minute. I thought I was having some technical difficulties, so just give me a second and you'll be able to see all the screens.
I always appreciate the fact that we don't have to do it on the call, and there's a, like
Yeah,
I said,
I always like panic though when I get the message, I can't see it. I'm like, oh.
I know, I saw that earlier and I was like, uh-oh.
I'll do the screen, just give it to me one.
Okay, can everybody see?
Not yet.
Okay, Ricky, do you have control?
Not yet.
Okay, do you now?
Yep.
Okay, there you go.
All right, so let's take back over. All right, so I'm going to do something kind of similar, but I guess what I want to point out too is, you know, obviously we're in this webinar together, and it's really important to figure out like why it is. And as you saw, Crystal, I mean, it's impossible. I challenge any one of you guys to try to explain a PSA in 10 minutes and an RMM. It's ridiculous. No way. But anyways, great job, because honestly, the power that you have in there is insane, right? Especially for the price, for what it can do. And there's kind of that duality that we're talking about today. So what Crystal's focused on, obviously, is how can we take something that is meant to streamline your back-end processes, your tickets, your invoicing, and all that kind of stuff, combine it with an RMM so you actually have all the control. And then what I think that CloudRadial comes in and really, really complements, which is our better together thing, is the client-facing experience, right? So when we talk about the client-facing stuff, we're going to flip it over, right? When you actually present these things to your clients, what can you give them, right? We've given you a tremendous amount of power, and you may already be using something as well, and you're looking to improve it, but this whole package becomes something really, really good as far as your entire brand. So what I'm currently sharing is a little bit of CloudRadial, right? In CloudRadial, like I said, client portal, account management tool, tons of automation built in, and I'll be doing something similar in that I want to go through kind of a high level view of what it does. And then more specifically, I want to slow down and I want to kind of show you how Syncro plays into that and what that actually looks like back and forth. So right now we're looking at the full on portal, which is pretty much like Legos. It's modular, it's customizable. So at this first screen, I mean, I've really dressed up my demo, my Syncro demo portal here to the nines, right? So it has kind of a very ticketing focused home page. It's got a lot of KBs built in. And I kind of want to touch on the whole methodology behind it in brief. And the idea is that when you're giving someone a client portal, it's not so much about just giving them a ticketing portal or just giving them a training portal or a KB portal. Our thought process was, what if we could put everything into one kind of place and make it a good experience, almost like a Swiss Army knife, for lack of a better term. So a lot of people, when they first start up their trial and they kind of play around with it, they wonder how it works and what's in it. So they kind of work their way down the menus. And that's kind of what we'll do real quick. So again, kind of customizable how your approach is. In this case, I went for a ticketing view, which is obviously very innate to a lot of people that get that. If we go down like things in the company, right, we have stuff like an application launcher. So you have things like an intranet, right? You can start to build these things that it makes it easier for you to explain to clients where they go. I mean, this isn't rocket science, right? Just links to stuff. Stuff like a knowledge base now starts to add a little bit more interesting aspects to it. This is not your traditional knowledge base in the sense of like more of like an IT glue where it's for your documentation. This is a shared platform where you can put articles for them. Ideally, the client themselves can add articles, and it's a one-stop shop for them. Something interesting about these, because we always get the question, does it integrate with IT Glue? Does it work with, you know, so-and-so other thing? This can be as simple as a text editor, or it can actually even bring in articles from other places, so long as we have a public-facing link. So that can be pretty handy. Same thing for example, if we jump down to the university, CloudRadial functionally has a built-in mini LMS in there that has courses preloaded, right? All the stuff you're looking at right now is stuff you actually get right off the bat. We give you a ton of sample stuff and things that you can use immediately, so you're not having to go create something from scratch. So you can see even with the courses, with the training, you can offer Office 365 training like that. This is all included with it. And if you want to go further, if you want to customize, you can add your own courses, and so can the client. So when you start to zoom out a bit, you're really starting to give the client something really, really useful, right? When you say you're giving them a client portal, it's not go here and do this, it's here's the entire basis of operations. Ticketing is a part of that as well, of course, and we're going to talk about that, especially when we go to the Syncro stuff, but I'll briefly go over it now. What's interesting with CloudRadial is that we've split up the your typical, like, you know, submit a ticket or your incident reports into this problem reporting zone, right? Report a problem. They click on a drop down, and the idea is that you, as best as possible, kind of help them filter down what the issue is. Oh, my printer is having issues. Now, when the client clicks on the specific ticket, what happens is they fill out the fields, and this goes via API over to Syncro. So we know exactly how it's going, where it's going, who it's coming from, and we'll get to authenticating users and how all the mechanics work, but that's the gist of it. What I think is a more interesting thing is how we split up these problem reports from the service requests, which also generate tickets. Technically speaking, they're identical. The difference is we're now giving you a zone within your portal to not just lodge these problems, but also give you a way to put forms up for maybe provisioning hardware, right? Let's say you want to put up your 3 different laptops you can provision out, rather than having people email you or having to do that ad hoc. You can put that up in your portal. They click on it, right? You might have them choose their configuration, and then off goes the ticket. So a lot of people use these in kind of an interesting way, right? Anything from provisioning all the way to like onboarding, offboarding forms are very popular in here. But you name it, sky's the limit. And again, because it's Legos, ultimately you can basically do whatever you want to do with it. But the idea here is that by splitting up stuff like this, right? Again, this is kind of colloquially known as intranet capability. The clients have way more than one reason to go to your portal, so they have way more engagement, way more stickiness with your brand. And we'll get to the support tickets as well, but of course, because we're pulling back and forth from Syncro, right, from the PSA via API, we can see all the ticket history, even if it doesn't originate or have anything to do with CloudRadial, because we're reading all that stuff. So again, we'll get back to that in a sec. So that's the gist of kind of the first 4 tabs, roughly. That's kind of your intranet. A quick spiel I like to do, and I make a point of this, even if it takes a little bit longer to show people, is that what we're looking at right now is not what you would typically give a user. This is a lot of stuff, and you know, it's probably too much. So if I go to my client list, which again we'll get to real quick, I want to show you that there is a difference between like an administrative or like a point of contact user and a regular end user. So if I impersonate a regular administrator in here, your typical one, they are going to see all of the options that CloudRadial can do, and you can restrict this down on a company by company basis. But your typical end user, if you're using this to any degree as a end user portal, are going to see basically what we just covered, right? They get their training, they get their ticketing, they get their knowledge base, they get their applications. They focus on the simplified view, which begs the question, what is all this other stuff passed down there? This is where we start to transition it, right, into more of like a reporting QBR repository. Because again, we're built to be the complete client experience for you, right? It's all kind of in one package. So that's good stuff. So if we briefly go over it, how do we kind of take something that is typically very difficult for people and make it not that bad? I'm talking, of course, about whether you want to call them QBRs, TBRs, whatever, the reviews, the transparency. And there's a whole methodology in CloudRadial that's built into the idea that we want to be able to be transparent with the client. You want to try to eliminate that stuff where you sit down with them and show them stuff. You want everything to be in their portal, automatic, without you having to add extra workload to yourself. And that's what this stuff does. So if we briefly go over it, CloudRadial has the ability to, for example, show in endpoints infrastructure, kind of like an RMM. Unfortunately, this doesn't come from Syncro. This is a specific agent that you can put on the machines from CloudRadial, right? But that may be up to you as far as how your strategy goes, right? We don't really take offense to people wanting to or not doing this. A lot of the stuff I'm about to show you is optional because it's based off what you think is best for your clients. So take a little bit of this with a grain of salt. But if you do so choose, I think this ends up being a very, very useful thing that you can show your clients, because if you put that agent on there, what it's going to do is it's going to put endpoint information into their portal that they can see themselves. They can get high-level info. How's their protection? You know, are they encrypted on their drives? Who's using OneDrive? A little bit of configuration, to the point where our agent also does like ship date and warranty expiration info and displays it right there. So at the very least, what we're basically doing in infrastructure is with this agent, we can pull in information. Actually, I don't have any servers. Oops. But we can pull in information and we can show all that stuff in here for the purpose of making a business case of it. Most clients, I mean, I'm sure you guys know, don't really kind of dive deep into this technicality. It's very useful for you guys internally, especially to diagnose and make suggestions. but we're trying to take this information and make actionable things of it. So maybe you want to show them their encryptions, maybe you want to show them if they're out of warranty, maybe you want to show them that they have outdated operating systems like this one, it's on Windows 7. And the only way we can do that actionably is if we can gather it in one space. So infrastructure, just we'll briefly go and assume that's just kind of a data dump. When we go down to compliance, we'll jump a couple tabs down. There are our policies. And these are those things I just mentioned. So basically what you can do is you can set your rules, you can set your methodologies to what you actually care about. And rather than explaining a client a big sheet of technical stuff, you get to show them, hey, there are some security concerns we should look at. Here's the problems, right? Maybe there's some continuity issues or some compliance stuff. Not rocket science, right? All that's happening is that agent's picking up information. You tell CloudRadial what you care about, like encrypted hard drives, right? And it basically tallies up who doesn't have them. And it shows you a list of who doesn't have them. And that's the gist. So this is ultimately why you would potentially want to put an agent on the computer. If you're after something like this, where you've been after something that automatically, no hassle, pulls in these rules for you and you can display it, fantastic. Other clients may even have other tools and stuff. And again, that's totally fine because CloudRadial is not built to replace all your reports and all that kind of stuff. It either complements it or at least gives you a solid baseline. So say you want to include some RMM reports or include maybe some specific security stuff or backup stuff. How do we kind of mesh that in there? There's actually a system of report archives within CloudRadial that you can build folders to hold any type of reports. So you name it, your audits, your backups, your executive dashboards, anything that you think adds value to the client and you want to make it a good part of the client experience, you throw it in here. So you basically are able to add a folder. Maybe you want to throw in some RMM reports, right? You can set retention policies on there. You can set alert triggers. And as we'll see in a second, I'm getting to this, but you can even have that route over to Syncro and alert you for stuff, right? Let you know if an alert has been missed. So we don't have to do any of that stuff. I'm basically just making folders for right now. So when I go ahead and make them, what's happened is I've added that to this client. And the idea is innate. Basically, what we're trying to do is we're trying to take this client portal experience. We're trying to give them that intranet, give them that training, give them that ticketing, and make it something really valuable. So in doing this, we've also now added the reporting function. So we can take any report we see of value, we can drop our reports directly in our folders, should we like, or better yet, most tools that you're gonna end up using definitely have a scheduling function for some reports. So naturally, all of these folders you create have their own email. So the idea is to auto set forwarding rules from these things into CloudRadial. Again, the big strategy now is what you've functionally done is you've taken something that has been a giant pain for both parties, right? You're no longer dumping reports on your client's doorstep to show them what you're doing. You're no longer having to wait until 3 months or they take a meeting to show them everything. You are giving them on-demand stuff as soon as it's available in their portal like that. And you're reinforcing the fact that you're transparent as you've ever been, more so than a lot of other MSPs, right? You're just putting it right in there. So you can get clever with how to utilize these, but these end up being a really big part of it because obviously there's always limitations with platforms. What can we integrate with? What can't we? This lets us integrate with basically whatever you deem valuable. I could talk more and more, but we'll kind of jump over some stuff. There's also built-in assessments that are really, really handy, a little bit more complex, probably too much for this talk. I'm going to run into the same problem Crystal has where it's like, we could go, but basically the gist of this is if you want to run through some assessments, CloudRadial has a assessment module in here that can even be client facing. So if you have specific things you need to run them through, you need to give them high level overviews of assessments that you ran them through in the portal, you can do so. You can show them exactly the details that you want to show them of what you're grading them on, if they're compliant, not compliant. So very, very powerful as far as reporting. There's a lot of stuff in here that is meant to help you get ready for that TBR, QBR, that meeting, right? Build that transparency as automatic as we possibly can. Usage and security over here that I skipped over is also really handy. A lot of you guys use Office 365, manage that for your clients, and the ability to integrate in with that, which we do, and put that in the portal gets on-demand reporting for the clients. So I can see adoption data across various platforms for people connected. I can see license counts directly from Office, so I can click on them and see exactly who's allocated. That's all automatic. I mean, that's just, you plug it in and you're done. There's nothing to do here. And it's a similar story for security. Security is going to be pulling in some additional integrations, but things like email usage from the tenant, things like MFA information and who has access to it, all visible within CloudRadial. So roughly speaking, again, I know I'm flying here, but you give them that intranet, you give them a chunk of reporting to whatever degree you see fit. And then ultimately within CloudRadial, you can also finish that up. We can drop them and show them a little bit of a dashboard view, which does basically the same thing we've been looking at everything. It just takes it all together and puts it into one zone for them. So you can take that agent information and visualize it so the client doesn't have to click around to a bunch of tabs. You can pull in information from Syncro. You'll see this too. This is kind of like what a lot of you guys do is like a bright gauge, right? It's like it pulls in information and displays it here. Unfortunately, I don't have very much myself, but even if you have other tools, say you do leverage bright gauge or you leverage like a Power BI or something like that, this dashboarding function is really nice because it lets you do whatever. So we also have HTML widgets in these dashboards. So if you can grab information, you can display it within your portal and really help to round out that presentation. So this can be kind of, again, that whole kind of client experience. And lastly, where this is all heading for, if you look, I've been kind of working my way down. So from the intranet to the reporting, all the way down to even building that roadmap and planner, which is what I've currently got on here. You can do that as well. And we take a very simple stance to this. If you look, basically what's happening is we have 6 columns, 1 recommended, you got a 4-quarter view, and then you've got the installed or the completed. And what's happening is you can basically put up initiatives of either your core services or things you want to talk about, freehand things you want to add with the client, and you can throw them on the roadmap and help to plan that out. And because this is all in one portal for them, you've now given them an absolutely complete experience, absolute visibility on everything in one place, which is really fantastic client experience. So woof, there's a lot of stuff. I tried to go relatively quick, but what I want to focus on now, if it's cool, is I want to talk about, I know obviously we're talking about the capabilities of CloudRadial. How does this work with Syncro, and a little bit more of the mechanics? Because I think a lot of you guys are a little bit more technical and want to get into that just a little bit. So let's do that. So CloudRadial is not built to be a standalone PSA, right? Syncro obviously is a monster in terms of capability and how it does all these different things. Same thing with the RMM that we're just not even touching because we're really focused on this whole client experience. So CloudRadial really relies on a PSA, despite the fact that it can be used without it, but you really want to use a PSA with it. Because that's how we're pulling back ticket history. That's how we're syncing in users. I mean, there's a lot of functions with it. So what's been happening and how am I working with Syncro is basically whenever you set up CloudRadial under the settings area, there is a section up top. So if anyone spins up a trial after this, you'll have to do this, where you can go to your PSA and you can select the PSA that you work with. So in this case, we've got this one hooked up to Syncro. And what's happening is we have a specific article for the PSA, right, that tells you exactly how to do it, tells you exactly what CloudRadial does and how to configure your keys. So for the most part, anyone who's used any tool is familiar with generating keys, but I'll walk you through it because it's super easy in Syncro just for kicks. And obviously I've already done it, so there's not much to look at in my CloudRadial. But the idea is that whenever you get your Syncro up and running, you would go click on your name, you'd go click on your profile password up here, and then there's going to be a spot for your API tokens. So when you go over here and generate a new API token, you can see I'm a big fan of copy, 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 copy. You can make a brand new one. And again, we've got the conditions, your custom permissions written exactly. So when you go give it, if you really take a look at what permissions we're asking for from CloudRadial specifically, which are, again, are all listed within this article, right, further down, it's really all client-facing stuff. So from the customers to the invoices to the tickets and the leads, this is all the permissions that we need to display accurately, to pull in information from Syncro and submit tickets and be able to modify that, which again, I'll show you how that works too. So for the sake of time, I won't be punching these out. I already have one connected to this exact set of permissions. It would have generated a key for me, of course. And then once I have my instance name and the key it generates, I just pop that into CloudRadial, and that's exactly what we've done. Now, once you do that, it's going to ask you a little bit of information that you can fill out at your own leisure. You don't necessarily have to have all this filled out, but you'll see how this all works. So basically, the way that CloudRadial works is it's taking the statuses that you have defined within Syncro and mapping them over, right? Stuff's going to happen in your client portal. The client's going to see their tickets, and you have the option of letting them close their own tickets from CloudRadial. So maybe if they close their own tickets, all we have to know is what happens in Syncro. Well, when they hit cancel, it goes to the resolved status and this status. And when they reopen, it goes to new. And when they comment, it goes to customer reply. And even change approval workflows. So there's a system for allowing CloudRadial and doing approvals out of it, which is a very similar function, where basically you can mark certain tickets as needing approval. And same thing, right? We're asking you, hey, what status would that be in Syncro, just so we map over, right? So it needs approvals waiting on a kernel. resolved, customer reply. I mean, there's all different kinds of statuses here. So you basically are able to set up that API and map these the way you want. And I'll show you what the practicality of this is. So once I have Syncro connected, I am now ready to roll. When I go to the client list within CloudRadial, I am able to create companies. And this is what I was saying before, that it's really important that we connect over to Syncro, because that's how CloudRadial is pulling in companies. We basically silo everything, mirroring very closely to the customers in Syncro. And customers, of course, are basically your companies here, right? You have all these individual ones. So you can see I've got in Syncro digital efforts and my dining supply and the outdoor clothiers and all that. And that's basically what I'm pulling in here. So the way that adding clients in CloudRadial works is when I go and I have Syncro connected, I go to add companies, and we're asking for identifiers from Syncro. So now that I have it connected, I would just do a lookup, right? If I know I want to add my dining supply, I'll just write them in and I'll hit enter, and there they are, right? It's pulling that information back and forth. So with those permissions that I mentioned before, it's allowing us to bring in the contacts and whatnot. So if you hook up Office 365, which is done in a couple different ways, for the sake of brevity for today, we'll skip that, but that is also something that we include in instructions. You can sync from 2 different sources, which I'll show you where that comes in handy in a sec. That is a very, very powerful thing. But you get the idea. I mean, it ties in and it allows us to pull the users. So when we get the users, digital efforts, the current company that I'm in right now is no different. I'm tied into my Syncro ID, I have my office identifier, and so on and so forth. Basically, what's happening within CloudRadial is I have that user information pulling in from those sources, and that's how I get all those people. And because I'm hooked up to Syncro, that's how whenever these individual users submit tickets, that's how they know what company they come from in Syncro and what ID they are and who they are and all that kind of stuff too. So we're going to take my poor boy Alan here. We're going to use him. So I'm going to go ahead and impersonate as I were Alan himself. So here's Alan. He is an administrator in the system. You can see at the top, I'm Alan Volmar. Now what happens is Alan is theoretically going to go ahead and log a ticket, and we'll see how that works. So he goes to report a problem, right? So request service would have been the same exact thing. He tells me he's got a phone issue. He's got, he can't hear anything on his desk phone. So he goes ahead and logs something, right? He says his number is 555, the usual Hollywood number, blah, blah, blah. He fills some stuff out and he hits submit, right? He can add more information. Now, all of these forms are customizable. So this sample set we're looking at is one that we give you, but if you're already thinking, well, can I do this? Well, we don't support phones. It's okay, right? You can always cut stuff out and build your own. There's kind of an infinite level of scalability. So as soon as Alan hits the submit button, what's going to happen is it's going to generate a ticket number. It tells him, hey, it worked. And you're going to see within CloudRadial that Alan has the capability to go to his support tickets area. We briefly went over before, and he can see that ticket right here. So here's Alan's, I can't hear anything on my desk phone. Now, Alan, being the administrator, also has the ability to see all the open tickets for the company. Were he just a regular user, he would only see his own tickets. We know that there's always permissions issues there, so we want to make sure those are clear. So when he clicks on this, he's basically getting back an iPhone chat style log, right? So this is what he sees in CloudRadial, and everything's hunky-dory. Back in Syncro, right? Let's say I'm working this. I'm going back to my initial home page here. Oh, guess what? Someone just opened a ticket today. Wonder who. So I can click on that, and I can see, hey, guess what? From my Syncro demo, I can't hear anything from my phone. What's going on there? So let's click on this, and I can see everything I need to see. I know that it came from the Syncro demo company. I know it was Alan. I've got all that information, and I get all the details directly in my ticket. So if I want to write back to him, let's say, so I want to say, hey, maybe I want to say, we're working on this. And I work directly out of Syncro, I certainly can. And we're going to choose probably not to email him. Let's email him anyways. It's funny. So we're gonna mark that we sent that. Okay, cool. What's happening is this is going to log it in Syncro, right? The technicians are really never intended to work out of CloudRadial because, again, as a client portal and account management tool, our CloudRadial is more focused on the account managers there. But when we go back to CloudRadial, again, that should be a big part of displaying all that information. So he can get a update. You should be able to see that sure enough, we're working on this, and I go, great. So if you have automations and emails coming from Syncro informing them, there's even a way to let them know that, let's just write the nice little contact, see, very iPhone log-like. There's a way to put a link back in that email that lets them reopen the ticket directly in their portal. So it's a very contained experience overall, and you can see that it's basically just reading this back and forth. So nothing doing, right? It's not that bad. It just kind of works innately with these these connections. Great. So we have all these things kind of firing off all at once, and that's pretty awesome as far as visibility there. And like I said, another really important one is even approvals. So what's happening is potentially within CloudRadial, this is a nice thing that we'll briefly run over, is instead of just building out the tickets to whatever degree you want, you do have the capability of choosing exactly where they go. We're gonna do that not from admin, hold on. All right, so if you want them to come in with a certain status and a certain priority and so on and so forth, all you have to do is let us know if they need an approval, and that will trigger off that approval workflow. And we saw that you can define what happens with that at the PSA setup bit, right? So when you first looked at those tickets, right, basically what I had done with some of these is I'd flipped on the ability to require approval, and what you're seeing in here is that this actually shows that it's waiting on approval. And what's happening on the CloudRadial side is it actually sent out an email to the approver, which is the admins in this system, and it asks them, hey, you know, in this case, John Webster's trying to order computer accessories. Do you want to accept or deny? And if they accept it, it moves it forward based off your defined status, and if it denies it, it moves back. Now, this all again works innately based off of the statuses you guys have set in Syncro. So that's the high-level gist of the problem reports. I want to talk about one last thing before I hand it back off for questions, because I think that's a lot of stuff and a lot of stuff to digest. Something that turns out to be very, very handy that I know I've personally talked to a lot of people on our side and Syncro side that have this issue across basically every PSA ever, just in general, is how do we kind of keep order with the users, right? Users is always a very difficult thing. And I mentioned in brief that we're connected up to Office 365 and that we're connected up to Syncro. So technically, we have two sources of truths for our users. Now, again, when you go to add a company in CloudRadial, like I said, you're going to want to pop in your Syncro identifier, and that's how they submit tickets. But this second one allows us to pull in users from Office. So one of the things that you can do, we'll double check our digital efforts one that is hooked up to two different ones, is play around with the sync settings. So if we go down here, you can see that there's a section to modify your sync settings. Most people that use CloudRadial don't ever really touch these because for the most part, they're pretty sensical, right? Delete them when they're no longer in one system, right? Add them when they are added to one system. And CloudRadial is doing a daily sync with both Office and Syncro once a day. This thing right here is something that ends up being really, really handy because again, I know a lot of people have this issue where how do you kind of maintain the Office users you manage and then Syncro users you manage, right? There's always a difficulty in keeping that kind of in line. What CloudRadial can do, despite the fact that it's not strictly intended to do that, is it can make it so whenever you add an Office 365 user, it creates it within CloudRadial, and it also will create it in Syncro for you. So that just keeps it really easy for you to manage one source of truth. Similarly, if you delete them out of Office 365, what it's going to do is it's going to remove them out of CloudRadial, and it's going to put them as inactive in Syncro. So basically, they won't be popping up there. So this is a really handy sync feature that, again, I know a lot of people, it's near and dear to their heart at how they manage users, and they had to I guess what's the term that people use all the time, reconcile on who's the correct users in there. So definitely worth playing around, and you can see that Syncro, I mean, obviously RMM PSA is just massively, massively, massively helpful for your back end, but for the client experience side, right, we would kind of marry those two concepts to get the best of both worlds and give the client something really, really pretty and useful for them to work on. So hopefully that was a good overview. I know I'm parched, so sorry about that.
Ricky, no, that was awesome. I think like one of the, I just want to just hop in really quick because one of the things that I think is so amazing about this integration and about our two companies working together is that we have a very similar goal in mind for our MSPs, and that is to make you more efficient, save you time, and offer incredible service to your customers so that you can make more money. So this is just like an added display of how you can do that, become more efficient. And again, like that, I mentioned even, you know, within Syncro, being able to chat back and forth so that you can cut out like all of the back and forth, but the way that this portal is created and has all of the different options for them, for you can customize all of your ticket types and that kind of thing, which is really, really incredible. And I love how, yes, that exact screen. I love that screen. I think that alone just will speed up and make you just so efficient. And it's so easy for your customers. And the fact that it links right into Syncro and you could remote right into that machine, like all in one Swift, like this is amazing.
I mean, I'm telling you, I talked to a bunch of people, and I'm not just saying this because like, oh yeah, like it's a game changer for so many people. I talked to so many people that are either starting off and they want to get more mature. Maybe they've been using something that kind of does the job, but they want something more serious. But I also talk to a lot of people that come from, you know, the kind of the more established players. They come from ConnectWise and Autotask and all that stuff, and then I mean, they're so frustrated. I don't have to speak on this webinar, but you know, there's some frustrations that come with different sizes and maturity models, and there's a whole thing. And I think when you take something like Syncro that just simplifies the whole process, puts it in one, streamlines it all with this, I mean, it becomes something that is just insanely powerful. So yeah, I'm a big fan of the automation that comes from here, and from the client-facing side, it makes an insane difference when you're able to show the client that you have an experience and you've thought all this stuff out and it's just right there, right? I mean, they can rely on the fact that you're there to field it. You set up your stuff. Again, when it comes to ticketing, you can answer their tickets far, far faster. You can solve things far, far faster if you just have a little bit more information, right? So that's kind of the whole premise of all this in the first place. That's your efficiency and automation and whatnot.
Absolutely. And for an MSP that's trying to grow and you have a gazillion different tools that don't talk to each other, the amount of time that you're spending just to manage your tool set is the time not spent caring for your customers and building your business and selling your services. So it's like using tools that talk to each other and that increase your efficiency will pay dividends. It's incredible.
Safi, do we have any questions at all from the crowd there? I know
Okay, the crowd has killed me with questions. And they've all been, you have taxed my technical abilities too. Okay, Ricky, I would like you to show inside the portal.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the questions was about settings and getting everything kind of set up. And so I think I want you to explain the partner settings piece, which I know you went into, you know, you went in and showed the PSA, but we want to show them how they hook in their Microsoft partner information.
Sure.
Explain if they don't have delegated access, how that works.
Mm-hmm. No problem.
And then the accounting and branding. I had one question about if we supported other language, which we really don't. We only support English. However, I want Ricky to show you where you can customize the sidebar. Okay, yeah, hit it, Ricky.
Let's go through that. So for sure. So again, for Syncro's purposes, right, what you're going to experience, and this is actually, I put this demo purposely on a trial account to show you what it would look like when you first started. You're going to get provisioned a tenant that would look very similar to this, maybe not so messy with all these fake articles, but there's going to be a big setup here that says trial setup, and there's going to be an onboarding checklist that's just a link to partner account. That's really where you should start. That'll show you every single step of what you need to do in the first place. So that branding, connecting to your PSA, connecting to Office, doing all that stuff. These are all articles that show you how to do so, but they're all handled here from the settings area. So the idea is that, yep, we saw it, right? We spent a lot of time just now talking about the PSA settings. For Microsoft Partner, you would go to this area right here. And what we're doing for the delegated admin access stuff is we're basically running a script once to get access to your tenant and anyone you have delegated admin access to. So there's a PowerShell script that you basically run in ISE as an admin. This gives us the permissions. You can go through and read them right here to pull in the information from there. So once you run the script on ISE, it's going to give you 4 values. You just plug them in here, basically 4 keys. You plug in your MPN, your partner number, you hit OK, and you are done. And then what will happen on the back end is CloudRadio, again, now has permission to read it. You don't have to do this ever again. It's a one-time thing. And once you have that script run, it's going to be here in Office 365, and you're going to see, this one's fake, so don't worry too much about that, but you're going to see all of the tenants you control. That's very common for people that they don't have delegated admin access. Maybe they're not a Microsoft CSP. So that's not a deal breaker. That's totally fine. This just really speeds up the process. Say I got my Farragut dining supply and they are an Office user, but I don't have access to their Office via delegated. No problem. Once I load them in, I can basically go impersonate admin, which is kind of not just how I look at their account, but also how I kind of manage them individually. So I'm going to go in here. I've got their Farragut dining supply up here, so we know we're in their company. And once I'm in an individual company, I can go, well, actually, I cut it out of my feature set. Ooh, hold on. Let's do it like this. I can go to their account section. and then I can go to their settings and I have the option of tying that in manually. So it takes a little bit more time because obviously we need to be verified, but as long as you can get us admin access within their 365 tenant, you hook both these up and it does the same exact thing. It brings in their licenses, it brings in their users and syncs in from there. So that's totally doable. So they ultimately accomplish the same thing. For multi-language support, that's a really good question too. And a lot of people take, they have some beef with how we call stuff, which fine, right? Honestly, like I've talked to a lot of people that like to call this maybe order stuff or submit an incident report and all that kind of stuff. And we ultimately allow that. And same thing for languages, right? We have a lot of partners that are working in France and Germany. We have a couple in Sweden and stuff. And there's a lot of people that like the gist of this, but they need this to be a little bit more customized, and that's all customizable. So in that same settings area, right, we've been talking about the partner and the PSA. Under the branding tab, which is how I can define the logo at the top, the different colors and blah, 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 there's a section for the sidebar. So if you'd like, you can rename this to anything, right? So any language you want. And because you can customize the content within this portal, there's nothing stopping you from renaming this section, these articles, these links, these whatevers to whatever language. So while we are an English supported company because we're based in Dallas, Texas, this whole thing is functionally whatever you want it to be, right? Because you have pretty much full control over it. Safi, did that cover everything? Did I miss stuff? I think that's right. Silence is good. I like silence.
Sorry, no, silence is not good. I'm still answering questions. And I'm just going to go ahead and answer this here. Michael Abate just asked a question, said, are you honoring the $100 off for current customers who've signed up in the last month before the deal was announced? And the answer is yes. I would just tell you to email me directly, which is Saffie, it's SAFFIE @cloudradial.com, and I will honor that and apply that discount to your account. I'm trying to make sure that I've gotten everything. There's another question in here, Ricky, which it says, can I use CloudRadial to fully replace IT Glue? Which I think I will, or go ahead and answer that. I mean, it's really more of a workaround.
It's one of those things that, like, we get a lot of questions, and I think even if you look on our website right now, we talk about tool replacement. That's a very common thing that comes up with CloudRadial because, like I said, we're going to just be straight about it. It's a Swiss Army knife. Now, granted, it's a very strong Swiss Army knife. Again, from the ticketing portion to the KBs to the training and all that kind of stuff. I'll say a tentative yes, because if you look at what it can do, a lot of the basal functions are there, right? Again, you can write your articles, you can distribute them out in mass. There's a whole can of worms I haven't touched about how you do this at scale with multiple clients, but you can, of course, push these out and tie them into whatever level you want. And you can also choose different user groups that see these. So if you wanted a set of articles that were only visible to administrators versus everyone, or IT people only, there is that granularity built into it. But ultimately, again, this is the Swiss Army knife drawback, is that a tool made to be the best ever that its tool is probably going to beat us in some regards. So IT Glue was made to be a documentation thing. So you kind of have to evaluate that yourself and see if the functions of IT Glue are like you need them, and then take a trial, take a look at what we do and determine if that's okay for now. Most people start off on that, and you'll find that that's why I'll say tentatively yes, because they'll determine that what they need right now, like the nice to haves versus need to haves, we have 99% of the need to haves, probably even 100% honestly. So we'll say yes, but give it a look yourself. I don't want to be the person on the hook for it. Don't put that on me.
Yeah.
Don't put that on Ricky. The other thing that I'd like.
Oh, I was just going to say, if I might add too, if you were leveraging both of these tools together, I love the this knowledge base that CloudRadial offers. On the Syncro side, we do have credential storage as well as encrypted fields. So like if it's more of like a password manager that you're looking for too, like you could leverage these two tools together. And maybe fill in the gaps of IT Glue, but like I agree with Ricky that that's what they do. That's all they do. So there might be limitations, but I do encourage you to check that out for sure.
Okay, so I want to answer a couple of things. This question came up, but it came up again, and I want to address it. But it's like, can I integrate Syncro chat with CloudRadial? And the answer is no, not at this time. And then Brent Lemke asked, about me to clarify a little bit about the special pricing offer and what it covers. If you go to CloudRadial.com Syncro, we have an offer out there for Syncro, which is $100 off. Wrong one. Oh, maybe it hasn't been uploaded yet. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay, so it's $100 off of our normal pricing. And we also are waiving the onboarding fee of $495. So it's about a $795 savings. I hate to put this out there, but I'm going to put it out there. We are raising our prices on April the 1st. And so if you purchase before April the 1st, you will be grandfathered into our legacy pricing, and you will still receive that $100 off. So instead of starting at $195 a month, only Syncro members or Syncro users will be at $95 a month in the CR 500 package. This price stays with you for 3 months, so you would get in at $95 a month for 3 months, and then in month 4 we start looking at endpoints and users. And so if you are remotely interested, I would suggest that you purchase before April the 1st, and that you understand that we have a month-to-month commitment, so you can always cancel. And we do make it easy for you to cancel. We're not one of those that, you know, kind of fight you tooth and nail. With that said, we will also offer the Syncro users a money-back guarantee for the first, if you cancel within the first 30 days, because we are kind of squeezing you here, and I do apologize for that. CloudRadial is a fabulous product. I would strongly suggest that you give it a try, sign up for a trial, and it will give you everything you need to really land, onboard, manage, and grow your clients. And it really does become a powerhouse when you attach it to Syncro. So that was my pitch, and my apologies, but for the big squeeze. Yeah. So I'm going to turn it back over to Crystal and Ricky, and I'll be quiet.
Yeah, I'd like Crystal's thoughts. I'm gonna throw a slide up here that we were talking about before for the share, that we were talking about where to go after. But please, Crystal, if you have any other thoughts, I don't want to cut you out there.
Yeah, no, I just was going to add on to this too, that if you go to this syncromsp.com/CloudRadial site as well, you will get a 20% off the first month of Syncro. And we also we don't lock you into contracts. We do offer a free 30-day trial as well, so you can utilize your entire 30-day trial before you sign up, and you still will be able to get that 20% off the first month. And with that, like I said, it is fully featured. So 30 days, you could deploy endpoints. You can really test. You can test out this integration. And in addition to that, we're happy to provide a meeting with one of our account executives too, that can walk you through the platform in a lot more detail than I did in like 12 minutes. So we're happy to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's what I had pulled up there on the PowerPoint is basically that anyways. I mean, when we look at it, real simple PowerPoint. I'm not much of a preparer, but yeah, there's really a couple different links we want you guys to take away from it. This LOMG that we're showing up here, this first one, is just a general thought process. When it comes to both Syncro and CloudRadial, again, it's not something that we take lightly, just because it's a game changer, right? And to change the game, you have to change the mindset. So both of our companies, like Crystal was saying, are really intended to just help the MSP space just be better in general. So like, we're trying to do away with a lot of like the legacy traditionalist pricing and lock-in and this and that. We're just trying to be good, right? So our take on that, our LOMG, is basically a step-by-step process on how the whole client experience works, how to leverage Syncro, how to leverage CloudRadial, how to make that all come together. So you're going to find some more details about how to do that, even with guides. And there's lots of training. We actually have a full-on academy and everything there too. So that's a good one to check out. Of course, as Safi was saying, the Syncro deal, that's if you want to go ahead and take advantage of that and take a look at what CloudRadial can do. And of course, what Crystal was just saying is similar thing, basically reversed, right? Syncro MSP/CloudRadial to take advantage of those things. But I think for me personally, that is it. Unless Crystal, you have any closing thoughts that I'm missing, I think that's good for me.
Yeah, I think I'm good. I just want to say thank you so much for having me, and also thank you all for attending. I hope that you found value, and I hope to see a ton of new trial signups on both sides, because you know, I think both of our companies align. We're here to help MSPs grow and become more efficient, make more money, save time. So please check out Syncro.
For sure. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. And you guys have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.